My name's Travis. I'm 31, and every year I tell myself the same thing. This will be the last Thanksgiving I host. Every single year. Yet somehow, there I am, arms deep in turkey brine, meticulously folding napkins into little fan shapes, and smiling through gritted teeth while my Aunt Karen critiques my choice of wine like I bottled it myself. But this year managed to outdo every previous disaster. Not because someone brought up politics or because Uncle Roy got drunk and knocked over the charcuterie board again. No, this time it was quieter, sneakier. The kind of betrayal that hits you hours later, when everyone's gone and the house is finally quiet. That's when I checked my bank account and realized someone had made me pay for everything. Let me back up a little. I'm the youngest of 3 siblings and the only one who stayed in our hometown. My brother, Grant, is a high-flying sales exec in Atlanta. My sister, Molly, married rich and now manages a lifestyle blog where she occasionally posts smoothie recipes and unsolicited parenting advice. I, on the other hand, run a small but successful web development agency from my apartment. Nothing crazy, but I live comfortably, and I've worked my butt off to build something real. My parents split when I was in high school, and since my mom downsized and my dad moved to Florida, the role of holiday host sort of defaulted to me. Now don't get me wrong, at first, I didn't mind. I actually like cooking. There's something almost therapeutic about turning chaos into a coherent meal. But over the years, what started as a cozy family get-together gradually mutated into this bloated, overhyped spectacle. Each Thanksgiving, more and more people showed up, distant cousins I hadn't seen in a decade, my sister's in-laws, my brother's new girlfriends. And somehow, despite everyone being full-grown adults with jobs, I was the one footing most of the bill. At first, it was subtle. People would forget to bring what they signed up for, or conveniently disappear when it was time to split the cost of the catering. But this year, they took it to another level. The week before Thanksgiving, I sent out a group text, a very clear one, asking everyone to chip in $60 per adult and $30 per kid, since we were doing a hybrid of home-cooked and catered dishes. I used to cook everything myself, but with 20-plus people showing up these days, it was just too much. The message was polite, straightforward, and included a payment link. A few people replied with thumbs-ups. Most didn't respond at all. I reminded them 2 days later. Still nothing. Thanksgiving morning came, and the first knock on my door was Molly, heels clicking on the hardwood, her son already smearing cranberry sauce on his tiny Patagonia jacket. She hugged me like we were starring in a Hallmark movie. "You're amazing for doing all this again, Trav," she said, placing a decorative squash on my already cluttered counter. I raised an eyebrow. "Did you send your part for the food?" I asked. She blinked. "Oh, didn't we do that already? I thought Chad sent it." Chad, her husband, was busy outside arguing with someone about where to park his Tesla. I just nodded and let it slide. Then came Grant, booming through the doorway like he owned the place. He brought 2 bottles of wine, which, I later realized, were both already opened and half empty. He clapped me on the back and said, "Looking good, bro. Hope you got enough for everyone. We brought friends." Sure enough, trailing behind him were 3 people I'd never seen before. 2 women and a guy wearing a leather vest and holding a ukulele. I blinked. Are they staying for dinner?" "Oh yeah. They were too far from home to visit family. So we figured, more the merrier." Sure. Why not? By the time dinner actually started, my place looked like a magazine shoot gone wrong. There were candles burning unevenly, kids screaming in the hallway, my mom loudly asking if the turkey was organic or just free range, and someone, probably Uncle Roy, playing country music from their phone in the living room. I was holding it together by a thread, just one thin, gravy-splattered thread. Dinner was fine, I guess. No huge fights. No dogs jumping on the table this year. People ate, drank, and praised my mashed potatoes like I'd just split the atom. Nobody mentioned the contribution I'd asked for. Not once. I even brought it up, casually, during dessert. "Hey, I sent that payment request earlier in the week. Just want to make sure it didn't get lost?" I asked the table, keeping it light. A few mumbled, "Oh yeah, gotta do that." And someone changed the subject to Black Friday deals. I should have known then. The night ended around 11. People started to drift out in waves, some with take-home containers they had apparently brought in advance, like this was a restaurant. Molly air-kissed me on the cheek and whispered, You're the best baby brother ever. Before grabbing a whole pie I didn't remember offering her. Grant gave me a bro hug and left me with a sink full of wine glasses and one very sticky child-sized handprint on my bathroom mirror. At midnight, I finally collapsed onto the couch, scrolling through my phone absent-mindedly until I opened my banking app out of habit. And there it was, $2,403.17. Pending. From the restaurant. Not just the catering bill. The full bill. Meals, drinks, and wait. Uber charges? I clicked in confusion and saw that several rides had been booked to and from the restaurant under my saved card. The catering company I used had a bundled app that, for convenience, let people add rides or extra wine orders under the same group. Apparently, someone in my family had just started using it like a group tab. At first I thought it was a mistake. Maybe the card info got mixed up. Maybe someone used the wrong profile. But then I saw the email confirmation. It was my name, my email. I checked the app's log. Multiple users had added to the order. Different names. Same billing info. I just sat there, stunned. Not angry. Not yet. Just numb. Then I saw it. A new message in the family group chat. From Aunt Carol. Thanks again, Travis. You're so generous. We all assumed you were treating since you're doing so well. We'll host next year. My stomach dropped. I didn't even know what to reply. My chest felt tight. I scrolled back through the chat history. Not a single offer to split the cost. Not one person asked. They just assumed. Or worse, they knew and didn't care. And that's when it hit me. They didn't forget to pay. They decided not to. That's when the anger started. And I had no idea, as I lay there staring at that glowing $2,400 charge, that I was just beginning to uncover how deep this little assumption really went. I didn't sleep that night. I just laid there on the couch, fully dressed, staring at the ceiling fan spinning lazily above me. Every now and then, my eyes would flick back to my phone, like the $2,403.17 charge might disappear if I stared hard enough. But it didn't. It sat there like a weight on my chest, a perfect, unavoidable number. Not just a number, a reminder of how they saw me. Not as a brother, a cousin, a nephew, but as a bank. A convenient little ATM in a flannel shirt who happened to be doing well, and therefore, apparently, owed them all dinner, drinks, dessert, and a fleet of Uber rides. I started to replay the night in my head, obsessively. The half hugs, the fake smiles, the way Molly had taken home 2 full containers of mac and cheese without asking. How Chad had handed my son's old Lego set to his nephew like it was his to give away. How my own mom had asked, in front of everyone, "Is this your new sofa? It's cute. A little modern for my taste, but I guess if you like it." Every small moment I'd brushed off over the years came flooding back in with horrifying clarity. Like the time Grant accidentally used my Netflix for 6 months without paying. Or how Aunt Carol once asked if I could just handle the Christmas shopping this year, and then handed me a list of 14 names, complete with sizes and preferred brands. And how everyone always praised me, loudly, publicly, for being the responsible one, or so generous, but never once asked if I was okay. If I needed anything. If maybe I didn't want to be that guy anymore. By 4:30 a.m., I wasn't tired. I was seething. And still, a small part of me hoped it was just a mistake. That someone, anyone, would text back and say, "Hey, that was messed up. I'm sending you my part." But when I opened the group chat again, the only thing new was a meme Grant had sent about leftover turkey being better than the original meal. A string of laughing emojis followed. Nobody mentioned the charge. Nobody even asked if I was okay with it. Around 6 a.m., I did something I'd never done before. I called the restaurant. I needed answers. The catering manager was surprisingly helpful, pulling up the invoice and reading it to me line by line. I had originally ordered the dinner for 12 people, the main meal, plus a few extras. But sometime around 4 p.m. Thanksgiving Day, the order had been modified to include wine, appetizers, and 5 additional entrees. And the payment method? My card. Confirmed. He even told me the names associated with the digital order additions. Chad, Molly, Carol, even Grant's friend Rick the ukulele guy. It wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate. I was shaking when I hung up. Not from rage, exactly. Not yet. It was more like betrayal layered over embarrassment. Like I'd shown up for a play and realized halfway through that I was the punchline. The idiot. The one paying for everyone else's fun while they laughed behind my back and toasted to how well I was doing. And still, I didn't say anything. Not yet. Instead, I did what I always did. I cleaned. I washed every dish, scrubbed the wine stains from the tablecloth, threw out half-eaten pie slices, and wiped down the stove. I gathered all the throw blankets, sprayed the couch, even swept the entryway. It was almost manic, like if I just cleaned hard enough, maybe I could scrub away the feeling that had settled in my chest. By the time I finished, it was nearly noon. That's when my phone rang. It was Molly. I took a breath and answered, trying to keep my tone even. "Hey," I said. "Oh, finally," she chirped. "Chad was trying to get a hold of you. Did you block him?" I blinked. "No. Why would I block Chad?" She sighed, like I was already being difficult. "I don't know. He just said his Uber receipts went through your card, and he wanted to double-check you didn't mind. You know, since it was all kind of last minute and you seemed fine with it." I couldn't even speak for a second. "Molly," I said slowly, "I didn't approve any of that. I sent a payment request days ago. No one responded. And now I'm out over $2,000 for food and transportation I didn't order." There was a pause. Then she laughed. "Oh my God, Travis. You're being dramatic. It's not like you're broke. You have your own company. What's $2,000 to someone like you?" Something inside me snapped. I don't even remember hanging up. I just remember tossing my phone on the kitchen counter like it was covered in slime. I could still hear her voice in my head. "What's $2,000 to someone like you?" Like I was some tech billionaire, not a guy who still bought store-brand cereal and wore jeans until they frayed at the pockets. Like success meant I owed them something. That afternoon, I drove to my mom's place. Not to confront her, not yet. I just needed confirmation. Something. I told her I was dropping off leftovers, and sat with her in the living room while she went on about how nice the evening was. "I think this was one of the better Thanksgivings," she said, sipping tea. "Everyone seemed happy. And I think it's great you treated everyone. It's a sweet tradition." My stomach turned. "Tradition?" I echoed. "Well, you always end up covering things. That's just kind of how it goes now, isn't it? You've got the space, the income. You're the dependable one." And just like that, I realized something chilling. They had all normalized it. It wasn't even a surprise to them. It was just expected. I drove home in silence. And later that night, just to confirm how far the entitlement had gone, I sent a polite message in the group chat. "Hey everyone, I noticed the total charge for food and rides came to over $2,400. I hadn't budgeted for that, especially since I asked everyone to chip in. Please let me know when you can send your portion, $60 per adult, $30 per kid, plus whatever you added through the app." Within 15 minutes, the replies started. First, from Aunt Carol. "Oh honey, I thought you were treating. That's what your mom said." Then from Chad. "Wait, what? I thought it was covered already. Can't we just handle it next month? Bit tight right now." Then Grant. "You really chasing us for pocket change, Trav? Kinda tacky, bro." The others started liking his message. Someone even added a laughing emoji. No one offered to pay. No one apologized. They doubled down. That's when I stopped waiting. Stopped hoping someone would do the right thing. That's when I really started planning. But the final straw? That came 2 days later. I got a Venmo notification from Molly. Not a payment. A request. For $45. Caption, "For the pie tin I brought and your kid's old Lego set. Tyler wants to keep it." I stared at the screen for so long the phone went dim. That was it. That was the moment. I wasn't just going to stop paying for them. I was going to make them regret ever thinking I was the dependable one. Because what none of them realized, what none of them bothered to ask, was that doing well didn't just mean I could afford things. It meant I'd learned how to protect things. Like my money, my dignity, and my time. And they were about to learn, in a way they'd never forget, what happens when you treat someone like an open wallet one time too many. I didn't speak to anyone in the family for a week after that. No texts, no calls, nothing in the group chat. I muted it, deleted the shortcut from my home screen. Every time I saw a notification pop up, a laughing emoji, another dumb meme, or some shallow comment from Grant about grinding hard this season, it made my skin crawl. I was unraveling, and not in the obvious, dramatic way people think of when they picture someone reaching their limit. It was quieter than that. Subtler. My mornings grew slower, heavier. I'd sit at my desk, fingers hovering over the keyboard, trying to code something, anything, but my brain just wouldn't cooperate. It wasn't just about the money. It wasn't even about the principle anymore. It was about how little they thought of me, about how easy it was for them to use me. Not just once, not accidentally, but as a pattern, a habit, a tradition, my mom had called it. Like I was just the dependable background character in everyone else's story, always there to pick up the check, carry the bags, say it's fine, with a smile plastered on my face. For days, I barely ate, barely left my apartment. I kept replaying every holiday, every birthday dinner, every little favor I'd ever done for them, wondering, was it all just expected? Was I ever appreciated? Or was I just convenient? I started second-guessing everything. I even found myself staring at old photos from past Thanksgivings. Pictures my sister had posted to her Instagram with cutesy captions like blessed and family first. And in nearly every photo, there I was in the background, setting the table, cleaning up, holding someone's baby, never front and center, never tagged. And it hit me like a freight train. I wasn't part of the family dynamic. I was support staff. The person who made sure everyone else looked good, felt good, was good, no matter how much it drained me. That was my rock bottom. The part where I didn't just feel used, I felt invisible. And so I stopped showing up. That Saturday, I skipped a cousin's birthday party. No text, no excuse. I just didn't go. Then I ignored a message from my mom asking if I could help figure out why her Wi-Fi wasn't working again. I'd fixed it 4 times in the past 2 months. I let the message sit unread. And when Grant called me to ask if he could crash at my place next month while he was in town for some conference, I let it go to voicemail. He didn't even ask. He just assumed I had the space, the time, the willingness. It wasn't easy. Every part of me, the part that had been trained since childhood to people please, to avoid conflict, to earn love by being useful, wanted to cave, to send an apology, to go back to the role they'd cast me in. But I didn't. Instead, I started pouring that time and energy into myself. I restructured my business, took a long look at my budget, where my money was going, what subscriptions I didn't need, what clients weren't worth the stress. I raised my rates, something I'd been afraid to do for months. And to my surprise, most of my clients didn't even blink. One of them even said, "I'm shocked you didn't do this sooner." I started working out again. Nothing extreme. Just a daily walk at first, then short gym sessions. Slowly, the fog started to lift. My sleep got better. My appetite came back. And then, almost accidentally, I started talking to people who weren't in my family. A former classmate reached out about a project. We ended up getting coffee. Then again the next week. I told them about the Thanksgiving fiasco, and instead of laughing or brushing it off, they actually looked angry for me. "Dude, that's messed up," they said. "You should have sent them invoices." I smiled for the first time in days. The next week, I started journaling. I know it sounds cliché, but it helped. I wrote out every little thing I remembered, every comment, every instance of being overlooked, every time I was expected to give without ever receiving. And as I wrote, patterns emerged. Not just in my family, but in how I'd let myself become complicit. I was always the first to offer, the last to complain, the one who apologized when someone else was rude, the one who downplayed it all with humor so nobody felt uncomfortable, except me. I started to see myself more clearly, not just as a victim, but as someone who had never set boundaries. And so I started building them. Not loudly, not in some dramatic family blow-up, but with silence, with space, with quiet, intentional absence. It wasn't easy. They noticed, especially my mom. "Is everything okay, Travis?" she left in a voicemail. "You've been distant." I didn't answer. Instead, I wrote myself a list. Not of revenge plans, not yet, but of priorities. At the top of the list, stop rewarding bad behavior. That one simple sentence became my compass. So when Molly sent a group message asking if anyone could help her move a couch into her new sunroom, I didn't reply. When Chad followed up privately with, "You coming or what?" I blocked him. I started posting less on social media. No more public photos of my apartment. No stories of homemade dinners. No announcements about new clients. If they wanted to think I was doing well, they could wonder in silence. And then something strange happened. The silence worked. Aunt Carol called me, not to ask for something, but to check in. Genuinely. She said she'd noticed I hadn't been active lately and wanted to see if I was okay. I almost didn't pick up, but I did. "I'm fine," I said. And for the first time, I meant it. She was quiet for a second, then said, "You know, I didn't realize how much we relied on you. I guess we've taken it for granted." I didn't say anything. because I wasn't ready to forgive. But I appreciated the honesty. It was the first crack in the wall. A week later, I got a text from one of Grant's friends, not Rick the ukulele guy, but another one. He said Grant was in town and had apparently shown up at my place without warning and was super confused when I didn't answer. I texted back, "I don't host uninvited guests anymore." That message got passed around, and slowly, the requests stopped. The silence stretched longer. They didn't know I was rebuilding, didn't know I was saving every receipt, didn't know I was compiling evidence, didn't know I was planning something better than a confrontation. They thought I was sulking. They didn't realize I was transforming. And what they really didn't know was that the next time they would hear from me, the next time I made myself the center of their attention, it wouldn't be with an apology. It would be with a decision. A very expensive, very public, very permanent one. It started with a spreadsheet. I know, not exactly the most cinematic beginning to a revenge arc, but I'm a web developer. Spreadsheets are how I process the world. And in this case, it was my version of sharpening a blade. I titled it Holiday Ledger and began populating it with columns: event, date, people present, expenses paid, contributions made, who benefited, and most importantly, who knew. I went back 3 years. Birthdays, Christmases, baby showers, random family game nights that somehow always happened at my place, always catered, always featuring name brand snacks I didn't eat, but somehow ended up buying. I combed through my bank records, Venmo history, texts, even Instagram posts to confirm who was there and what was eaten. The more I dug, the more disgusted I became. Thousands of dollars. Tens of them. No one had contributed to Thanksgiving for the past 3 years. Not a single one. The spreadsheet was more than numbers. It was a confession, from them, through their silence, through their patterns. They'd made me the mule for the entire family's comfort. But not anymore. With every row, I didn't just track debt. I tracked leverage. And the leverage was delicious. My first real move came one quiet afternoon in early December when Molly sent me an email. Not a text. An email, which already told me she was trying to keep things professional. The subject line was quick favor. "Hey Trav, I hate to bother you, but I'm finalizing some design updates for my blog and was hoping you could help tweak the layout again like you did last time. I'll give you credit at the bottom. No rush. Would just love to have it ready before New Year's. Let me know, love you." I stared at it for a while. This was the same sister who had let her husband charge drinks to my card and then laughed when I asked about repayment. So I replied, "Hi Molly, I'm glad to hear your blog is going well. I've recently overhauled my client list and am no longer accepting unpaid work. My current rate for design consulting is $125 per hour with a 2-hour minimum. Let me know if you'd like a formal estimate or invoice. Best, Travis." She didn't respond. Not at first. Then came the guilt text, 2 days later. "Really? You're charging me now? That's wow, okay." I didn't reply, because that was the point. Let them squirm. Meanwhile, I was gathering allies, not in some Ocean's 11 way, but quietly, patiently, like a chess player reclaiming the center. One was Marcus, my cousin on my dad's side, who was rarely invited to family events because he was weird. Translation: introverted and allergic to phoniness. He'd always been a black sheep, and I now realized I probably had more in common with him than anyone else in the family. I invited him out for lunch. No agenda, just catching up. It took about 20 minutes before the topic of Thanksgiving came up. "Let me guess," he said. "They roped you into paying for the whole thing again?" I stared at him. "You knew?" He laughed without humor. "Dude, they've been doing that since Grandma passed. You just didn't notice because you were too busy being nice." I nodded slowly. "Let me ask you something," I said. "Would you be interested in helping me with something?" Quietly. No drama, but maybe a little poetic justice. He smirked. I've been waiting for this day. So now I had Marcus, tech-savvy, spreadsheet fluent, and deeply petty in a way I appreciated. He helped me start pulling screenshots, emails, receipts, old family group chat exports. We created a shared folder, Holiday Justice. Every shared Google Doc had a paper trail. Every transaction linked back to a date and time. It wasn't about exposing them. Not yet. It was about being prepared. Because the perfect opportunity was coming. Christmas. One afternoon, my mom called. I debated not answering, but curiosity won. "Hi, honey," she said, too cheerful. "I've been thinking. You know how we usually do Christmas Eve at my place and Christmas Day at yours?" I paused. We used to do that, yeah. Well, I was hoping we could bring back the tradition this year. Everyone's asking about it, and it just feels more festive when you host. You always make it so cozy. I let the silence hang for a moment. So you want me to host again? Well, yes, but don't think of it like that. We'll all pitch in this time. I almost laughed, like how everyone pitched in for Thanksgiving. Another pause. This one longer. I told them that wasn't okay, she said. I talked to Carol and Molly and said you were hurt. They said they didn't realize you were serious about the payment. I snorted. Did they offer to pay me back? No, but I think that's something you should just let go, Travis. Family's messy. You know that. And there it was. The eternal excuse. Family's messy. Translation, you're not allowed to hold them accountable. I exhaled through my nose. Let me think about it. Okay, but let me know soon. Molly wants to know if she should order a cake or if you're handling dessert. I hung up without answering. The decision was already made. I was going to host Christmas, but not in the way they expected. I started planning meticulously. Not the food, not the decor, but the framework. This was going to be the trap, the test, the grand setup. I cleaned the apartment from top to bottom. I redecorated the living room to feel colder, cleaner, less lived in. I boxed up the comfy throw pillows, hid the board games, stored the liquor bottles. I made the space look like a showroom, not a home, because it wasn't a home for them anymore. It was a stage. Then I created a custom RSVP system on a private site I hosted. I built a Christmas guest portal with a login and everything. Each family member got a unique code. Inside, there was a menu of the catered items, from appetizers to desserts, and a required payment form before confirming attendance. Every adult was required to contribute $85 to cover the upgraded menu and $25 for kids. There was no pay later option, no gray area. You paid or you didn't come. I sent the links individually. No group chat, no warning. The responses trickled in over the next week. Aunt Carol tried to call me. I declined. Molly texted, "Wait, are you seriously charging us before Christmas dinner?" I replied, "Yes." Grant emailed, "Is this some kind of joke?" I didn't reply. Then he texted a screenshot of the payment form with the caption, "You good, bro?" I texted back one word, "Great." Within 3 days, 4 people paid. 8 didn't. Molly tried to circumvent the system by just showing up on Christmas Eve anyway. She found the building locked because I'd changed the security code on the front door. Only those who paid got the new code, along with a time window for entry and instructions for seating. But the Christmas dinner incident, was only the first domino. What came after that? That was the masterpiece. Because I wasn't just removing myself from the role they assigned me. I was about to replace that role with someone else. Someone they couldn't control. I woke up on Christmas morning to a full inbox. 15 unread messages. 6 voicemails. 3 missed calls. The subject lines alone made me grin into my coffee. This is ridiculous. Open the door, Travis. Are you seriously doing this on Christmas? Mom is freezing in her car. I sipped slowly. Cinnamon creamer, 2 sugars. The good stuff. I was already dressed. Jeans, button down, fresh haircut. The apartment smelled like roast duck and herb stuffing, both catered from a place way above the family's usual budget. And I hadn't lifted a finger, because for once, they'd paid in advance. Well, some of them. Molly, Grant, Chad, and Aunt Carol hadn't. Neither had my mom. They'd refused. Molly said it was insulting. Grant said it was tacky. Chad sent a screenshot of a meme with the caption, "This you?" and then radio silence. Carol tried calling me 5 times in 2 hours, then sent a guilt-ridden email about family meaning more than money. And my mom? She just said she was disappointed. That last one stung a little, but only for a moment, because Christmas came anyway. Marcus showed up first, right on time. He brought cookies and a bottle of wine, despite already having paid for dinner. That's the kind of guy he is. I let him in personally and handed him a guest envelope, one of the custom-printed ones I'd made. Inside was a seating assignment, a menu, a thank you card, and a small wrapped box with a Bluetooth speaker I'd gotten on sale. I thought this was about revenge, he joked, reading the card. It is, I said, but it's also about remembering who actually respects me. By 3 p.m., we were 9 in total. Cousins, 2 old friends, a neighbor who had nowhere to go for the holidays. Every one of them had contributed. Every one of them had been respectful, kind, communicative, the kind of people I wanted to be around. We sat at a long table with linen napkins and gold-rimmed plates. It looked like a magazine spread. Not because I was trying to impress anyone, but because I wanted to see what a healthy, drama-free holiday could actually look like. We played music. We laughed. We ate way too much. And outside, apparently, there was chaos. Around 4 p.m., my building's maintenance guy texted me. "You got a crowd down at the door. You want me to tell them anything?" I replied, "Tell them Merry Christmas and that the guest list is full." He sent back a thumbs up. 5 minutes later, I got a voicemail from Molly. Her voice was sharp, shaky. "This is disgusting, Travis. We're family. You can't just lock us out. Everyone's out here in the cold. Mom's literally shivering. This is abuse. You need to come downstairs now." I deleted it because I was done being the doormat, the free ride, the warm body they called only when something needed lifting or paying for or smiling through. They could sit in their cars all night. Dinner was incredible. There was a toast. A few people brought gifts. And when dessert rolled out, dark chocolate torte and caramel apple pie, I finally stood up and made an announcement. Thank you all for being here, for respecting me, for paying on time, for treating this like a shared experience, not a favor you're owed. You're the first group in years who's made me feel like I wasn't hosting out of obligation. I hope this becomes the new tradition. There were claps, smiles, glasses raised. I didn't even have to say what had happened outside. They all knew. After everyone left, each with a to-go box, a hug, and another thank you, I finally allowed myself a moment of peace. The apartment was quiet again, not empty, like it always felt after those old family gatherings, but peaceful, whole. Then I opened my laptop. The final phase of my revenge wasn't just about excluding them. It was about replacing them. For years, I'd been quietly building a professional portfolio website. I'd kept it hidden from my family, afraid they'd either mock it or try to milk it for favors. But now, I leaned in. I updated every section, added testimonials from real clients, a price chart, automated forms, clean, crisp design. Then I added a new blog post, front and center. The cost of hosting family, a personal case study in boundaries and burnout. I didn't use names. I didn't have to. The story was detailed, honest, and backed up with math, receipts, messages, timelines. How generosity turned into expectation. How silence turned into resentment. How setting boundaries was the greatest gift I could give myself. I published it on December 27th. By January 3rd, it had over 40,000 views. Reddit picked it up. A few influencers reposted it. A family therapist even DM'd me asking if she could use it in her lecture on emotional labor. And my inbox? Flooded. Messages from strangers saying they'd experienced the same thing. That they felt seen. Validated. One woman wrote, "You put words to a decade of pain I never knew how to explain. Thank you." But the cherry on top? Molly found it. She sent me a single message, dripping with fury. "Hope your little blog post made you feel better. You embarrassed us in front of thousands of people." I replied, "Good. Now imagine how I felt for years." That was the last time she messaged me. My mom called again a few days later. She sounded tired. "I read the post," she said. "I wish you'd talk to me first." "I did," I said quietly. "You just didn't listen." There was a pause. Then, "I'm sorry. I didn't say anything. Because I wasn't doing this for her. Or for them. Or even for revenge anymore. I was doing it for me. For the person I'd buried under years of forced smiles and unchecked generosity. The person who finally understood that love without respect is just manipulation and holiday wrapping paper. The person who learned, maybe too late, but just in time, that you teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. That night, I deleted the old family group chat. Then I made a new one. It had 4 people in it. And not a single one of them ever expected me to foot the bill. I wasn't their wallet anymore. I was finally me. And for the first time in my life, that was enough.